Most people read the Bible and skip the instruction manual part. They think it's just history, but hidden right there in the ancient details are farming secrets that can literally double the fruit you pick this year. Look at any farm today. Everyone plants their trees in boring, straight rows, right? They look like soldiers standing stiffly shoulder to shoulder in a line. That's actually why your harvest is small. It's terrible math. We found the secret hidden in those old writings, and it changes everything about how you grow food. Forget the straight line. You need to plant your trees in a giant circle. Imagine the trees are holding hands in a ring. When you plant them this way, in a circle instead of a line, it's like giving them a VIP pass to the biggest water and sun party. They share light better, and they share water better. And we are seeing double the oranges, double the peaches, double the anything. It's 2 full baskets of fruit instead of 1, just by changing the shape you plant. I'm going to show you exactly why the circle is the only way to plant trees if you want a massive harvest. You know how people plant trees? They line them up straight like they're waiting for a bus. Every farming documentary you watch shows these long, boring rows that go on forever. That is the wrong way. It's been the standard for 100 years, but it's a modern invention based on machines, not on nature, and definitely not on the ancient way of growing food. If you are planting trees in a straight line, you are immediately giving up half your harvest, guaranteed. That's why your apples are small and your oranges are few. The system is designed to fail. The secret we pulled out of the ancient texts and traditions is shockingly simple. Stop planting in lines. Start planting in groups, specifically in circles or tight triangles. When you look at an old picture of a family orchard, you never see endless rows. You see little clusters of trees working together. This is the whole trick. When you plant in a line, the trees are constantly fighting each other for the 3 things they need: sunlight, water, and soil nutrients. It's a messy battle, and the weakest trees lose, which means you lose fruit. Think about sunlight first. If I put you in a long line and the sun is shining from the side, the front row casts a massive shadow on the people behind them. The front row gets tan, and the back row gets gloomy and sad. That's exactly what happens in a row of trees. The strongest trees hog the light, and the ones directly behind them are stuck in the shade, starving. They won't make good fruit. But when you move them out of the line and into a circle, or even better, a tight triangle pattern, every single tree gets full access to the sun as it moves across the sky. It's like everyone is standing around a campfire, and nobody is blocking the heat from anyone else. They share the sunshine pie perfectly. But the light sharing is just a beginning. The real secret to doubling the harvest happens underground with the roots. When you line trees up, their roots spread out and they all crash into each other in a frantic root traffic jam, fighting for every drop of water that falls. The soil gets used up fast in that narrow strip, and the roots never develop a community. In the circle pattern, the trees form a defensive barrier. Their roots spread out and meet in the center, and instead of fighting, they're cooperating. They create an umbrella over the soil faster, shading the ground and locking in the moisture. This is where the first specific plant secret comes in. You don't just leave that circle of dirt bare. You never leave dirt bare. That's a farming mistake that costs billions of gallons of water every year. We put little helper plants in the middle of the circle. We don't want giant, tall plants that steal the sun. We want low-level helpers, like simple clovers or certain kinds of gentle grass. These aren't weeds, they're little bodyguards for the soil. These little helper plants do 2 powerful things to ensure your fruit harvest explodes. First, they're a sun shield for the soil. Imagine wrapping your ice cream cone in a hot day. The towel keeps the heat off. These plants stop the brutal sun from heating up the soil and sucking all the water out. The ground stays cool and damp, acting like a giant sponge full of reserved water that the tree roots can sip on whenever they want, especially during the dry season. Second, these little helper plants are natural fertilizer factories. Some of them, especially things like clover, have a superpower. They pull free food out of the air,
food that trees need, and they inject it directly into the ground through their roots. They're constantly making high-quality, free fertilizer for the surrounding fruit trees. Every time you mow them or let them die back, you're feeding a massive nutrient-rich meal directly to the roots of your oranges and your peaches. You stop paying for expensive fertilizer, and you start getting a massive harvest because you've turned your orchard into a cooperative community instead of a battle zone. It's this combination, the perfect circle shape and the protective plants inside that keep the water and food flowing, that unlocks the ancient secret to fruit growing. It moves the entire system from competition to collaboration. Imagine the trees are holding hands in a ring. When you plant them this way, in a circle instead of a line, it's like giving them a VIP pass to the biggest water and sun party. They share light better, and they share water better, and we are seeing double the oranges, double the peaches, double the anything. It's 2 full baskets of fruit instead of 1, just by changing the shape you plant. I'm going to show you exactly why the circle is the only way to plant trees if you want a massive harvest. We promised double the fruit just by changing the shape you plant, and here is exactly how that magic happens. When you plant trees in a straight line, it is the definition of competition. It's the tree equivalent of lining up kids for a race where they all have to drink from one tiny straw. Every tree is staring straight ahead and trying to punch the roots of the tree next to it because they're all fighting for the same small scoop of dirt and water. If you have 100 trees in a long row, you have 100 individual fighters all trying to beat the guy beside them. And when you compete like that, everyone ends up a little tired and a little hungry. You get fruit, but you don't get massive fruit.
The circle changes the whole game because it changes the competition into teamwork. Think about fixing a really complicated car engine. If 20 mechanics all stand in a line and try to reach the same bolt at the same time, it's chaos. But if they stand in a circle around the car and each person is responsible for the section facing them, everything gets done fast and right. That is what the trees are doing. They are facing outward, creating a private fortress and sharing the space inside. The real secret is what happens under the ground. When one tree is planted all by itself, it has to be ready for a fight. If a big storm comes, it's like a tiny boat hitting massive waves. It has to fight the wind all alone, and it can fall over easily. But when you plant 5 or 7 trees in a circle, their roots actually hold hands underground. They weave together. They create a massive secret safety net. They become one giant heavy anchor. The circle stands together. Now, when the wind hits the group, the wind doesn't hit a single boat. It hits a giant, unshakable rock, and the whole group stands strong. They literally cannot fall over because they are relying on their neighbors. This teamwork doesn't just protect them from wind, it makes them incredibly smart about resources. In a long row, when the rain falls, the water runs away quickly between the lines, like dropping water on a concrete path. The sun hits the dirt and sucks the moisture right back out immediately. But in the circle, because the trees are planted close and their leaves create a perfect thick lid over the inner dirt, it's like putting a massive stopper in the ground. The sun can't get to the dirt easily, and the water doesn't evaporate. It stays there exactly where they need it. It is like they have built their own secret water tank just for their club. Every single drop that falls near that circle belongs to the whole team, and they get to use it for weeks. In a row, they fight over water and lose half of it to the sun. In the circle, they trap the water and share every drop. That's why we see double the oranges, double the peaches, double the everything, because they're not competing with each other, they're cooperating to beat the weather. But water is only half the story. Now let's talk about food. When you plant trees in a straight row, the wind is your enemy. When the trees drop their leaves or shed a tiny broken branch or a piece of spoiled fruit, the wind immediately sweeps it away. Those trees lose their chance to recycle. They have to wait for the farmer to bring them food in a bag. But when you plant them in a circle, the ground underneath becomes a closed kitchen. Every single leaf, every little piece of nature falls right back into the center of the circle. That trash pile turns into the richest black food you could ever imagine. It's like the trees are throwing their recycling into their own private bin, and that bin turns their old garbage into five-star dining. They're constantly feeding themselves with the very best food they could ever ask for. The trees in the row are starving because their food blows away. The trees in the circle are feasting because they keep all their delicious leftovers safe and sound. More food means giant branches, which means double the fruit, guaranteed. And that closeness, that tight circle, is also the best protection against the big bad bully wind. Think about a single tree standing all alone in a huge open field. The wind comes roaring in and it slaps that tree around. Branches snap, the tree gets stressed out, and it spends all its energy just trying to not fall over instead of making fruit. But the circle trees are a giant team of bodyguards. The trees on the outside of the circle take the first punch from the wind, and their bodies slow it down and deflect it. The weaker trees or the younger trees in the middle are completely protected. The trees hold hands, too. Their roots weave together underground, so tight that it's almost impossible for one of them to get pushed over, even in a bad storm. They share the weight, they share the wind, and they share the protection. They don't waste any energy fighting the weather, so they can spend all that effort making delicious fruit instead. The circle is also their cozy sweater and their giant umbrella all in one. When the sun is absolutely blasting down, the leaves overlap and create this massive shared roof. It keeps the ground underneath cool and damp and keeps the soil happy. In the winter, when the air gets frosty, that closeness helps them trap the heat that the soil stored during the day. They snuggle up together under that shared blanket, and it keeps the cold killer frost from touching the tiny delicate flowers that are supposed to become peaches and apples. The lonely tree in the row freezes its fruit off. The circle trees share the warmth and survive the cold snap, ready to give you that double harvest. It's not magic or complicated science, it's just smart, ancient teamwork. It's planting trees like friends and family instead of isolated neighbors and letting nature do the rest. That's the simple secret people knew thousands of years ago.